My name is Gurbanov. I'm an 11th grader in the School of Kaspi, Liseyi. And today my topic will be educational burnout. Now, it's only fair if we start by defining the term burnout. What exactly is it, and how does it differ from just being tired? Well, to start off, unlike tiredness, burnout, it can't be fixed short term. You can't just take a day off and expect to regain back all your energy, because it directly affects your mental state. The things you once cared about greatly, they become insignificant to you. Thus, you lose your motivation and the will to continue doing whatever you want to do, be it work, hobbies, or even sport. It can be applied anywhere. And today we're going to talk about educational burnout. Now, the misconception about educational burnout is that the cause is misinterpreted to be lack of discipline, when obviously that isn't the case, and I can prove it in many ways. One of them is by bringing up an analogy. So when your phone overheats and you keep on using it, it eventually becomes laggy and loses its battery lifespan. Now the point is that if you use something beyond what it's designed to withstand, it will have long-lasting negative impact. And the other more practical way of proving is by conducting a real survey in order to pinpoint the exact causes and to learn how widespread it is. And the reason why I said a real survey is because it's really easy to get biased answers. Like if the survey is limited only to a certain school, the answers will be biased because some schools they are harsh, some of them not so demanding. And in order to bypass this risk, a group of students from 3 schools have answered my survey. If we take a look at the survey, over half, 54.2% of students, said that they have experienced academic burnout. Now that's a big number, but what's more fascinating is that 37.5% said that they're not sure. Now, this means what? Most of the students are not aware of what burnout actually is, and they do not know the symptoms and consequences of burnout. One thing that's also worth mentioning is that most of the answers that we receive, they come in between grades 8 and 11. That means that it's safe to assume that burnout is more common between middle and high school students. Is there anything else in common? Absolutely. When students were asked how often are they overwhelmed by schoolwork or homework, 75% said sometimes or often. This means what? This means that students aren't only stressed before taking an exam. They are stressed during their whole educational year because of schoolwork. Now that we're done with figuring out how widespread it is, let's dive deeper and figure out what burnout actually looks like, what are its symptoms. So the number one answer by our students was a lack of motivation. Then came loss of interest in studying, and then constant tiredness. Notice that all of these problems, they aren't physical symptoms. They directly affect how students learn, think, and perform. And next, if we look at the causes that they reported, most of them reported exactly half, poor time management, then came in pressure to get good grades. Now, what's also we have to notice here is that it isn't just one thing, single factor. It's a combination of different ones, like pressure from parents, teachers, or expectations. Now, we also have to take into consideration what students they actually do feel when they're burned out. Like what are the real symptoms they have, and how do they deal with their problems? Of course, they have to somehow deal with their problems in order to keep on achieving high goals in their educational field. And when the students were asked what are their coping mechanisms, 62.5% said that they deal with their problems by spending time with friends and family. Now, they may do this because they seek for help, or they're just trying to distract themselves from the real problem. If we look at the second answer, it's using social media. Now, obviously, using social media is not a solution to burnout. This means that students are trying to find short-term solutions in order to forget about their problems rather than solve it. That this here is a real problem. And the answers, the third answer was getting some extra sleep and take a break from studies. Now, to be frank, I expected these two answers to be on top. But the reason they're not on top is because if you take a look at the previous slide, the poor time management was a leading cause. And of course, if students can't manage their time, they can't get extra sleep, and they can't also take a break from studies. Now, when those students were asked whether or not they think their coping mechanisms are effective, 66.7% said that they're only somewhat sure. This suggests that they're not using the necessary long-term strategies that help them for a long time. They're only using short-term strategies, which is really bad. Only 1/5 of all the students, they manage to deal with their problem, which is not a lot. So, what are some real solutions given by experts and educators in their field? So psychologists suggest that they don't view burnout as something that should be dealing with short term. They think that in order to deal with it, you should change your habits and routine. So the first step, the most effective one as well, is scheduled recovery. So rest shouldn't be something that you get after you finish everything. Rest should be something you get after completing every small task. If you have a lot of small breaks in between your jobs or your duties, it will help prevent pressure from building up. The next thing the psychologists suggested is managing tasks through smaller duties. So instead of trying to handle everything at once, you should split up all your duties and your work into smaller parts. It has a lot of benefits. First benefit is that you get a sense of control over your timetable. The second benefit is that you get a sense of progress and success. Now, third, but not least, is seeking help, reaching out to necessary specialists and experts. And even not experts, at least your friends, families, or even teachers. Because burnout is most dangerous when it's in isolation. Now that we're done with all the solutions, we have to wrap up. All of this happens because students have cared for way too long. And parents, teachers, and students like myself, we should always keep in mind that our minds are fragile and we shall take great care of it. And instead of asking students to work harder, we should ask ourselves a question. How can we help students work in a way so that they don't lose themselves in the process? Thank you, everyone. This is the end of my speech.